Hello, I'd like to welcome you to another edition of Garage Fashion with Brian. Today I'm going to show how to accessorize your truck with the latest in garage fashion. Stay tuned. All right. All jokes aside, time to get serious out here. Sorry, I just had to do that. Time to tear into another major project on Gilligan here. I think I mentioned it in one of the past videos. Got a big trip coming up in 3 months from now. Heading out to Colorado and Moab, and Gilligan's going with us. So I got some big plans in store here. As you can see, looks like some things are missing. So let me show you what's going on here. Okay, here is the parts we have. That's going to be the basis of the motor. So what I have is a set of SVO aluminum heads. These basically came off of, these were all part of a Ford 351 crate motor that my buddy had upgraded the motor to a 408, and then I bought all the takeoffs off that motor. So I got a screaming deal on these that was too good to pass up. So I figured these would be a great setup. If this was on a 351 cube Ford crate motor, on a 342 cube 302, these should work phenomenal. So we have heads that have been all freshened up. They've got a mild port job done to them. Fresh valve springs. They have the Ford Motorsport 1.6 bolt down roller rockers. You can see just kind of you've had a mild port job. I have flow sheets here for these. Intakes are all done, milled, all ready to be bolted on. Just blow them off and bolt them on. Can't remember. So these are the Y302. There's the part number for these heads. These heads, after they were cleaned up, right around 500 lift, they're going to flow about 220 CFM on the intake and 155 on the exhaust. Going to be using a Ford F303 camshaft. This has 512 lift, so should be a pretty good combination. We have a set of 24-pound injectors. We have the ARP head bolts that we're going to use in this application. So I think this, combined with the stroker kit, should be a pretty stout little combination for this truck. And the nice thing about it is with the micro squirt, tuning it won't be a problem. I'll be able to get this all set up exactly how it needs to be, and she should be a ripper. So now I need to get started on getting all of that out of there, and let's get off to the machine shop. So as you can see, I've started to disassemble the 5-liter in Gilligan. Started on it yesterday for a couple hours. Me and Dan were out here working on it, and please excuse all the bird crap everywhere. For whatever reason, anytime a vehicle sits for more than an hour in my driveway, the birds try to turn it into a condominium. So you got to clean all this mess up. But anyway, decided to make some big changes on the truck here, and I decided I'm pulling this motor out, even though it's probably only got about 5,000 or 6,000 miles on it since I built it. It's almost 2 years old now, but I think I want more power. This is just a stock, like a Mustang spec 5-liter, stock HO roller cam, stock E7 heads. Just got all the Explorer GT40 intake, Explorer front accessory drive on it, and then I had the advanced adapter shorty headers on it. I run it on the Mega Squirt or Micro Squirt so I can do all the tuning myself. Thing runs good. It's got tons of power, but I think I want a little more. So I actually bought a stroker kit from CNC Motorsports. And what we're going to do is I'm going to yank this out. I'm going to bust it all down, and I'm going to take it over to my buddy's machine shop, and we're going to convert this into basically a standard bore 347 stroker, which would make it a 342 cubic inch motor. Have a bunch of other goodies for it. We're going to be sliding in a Ford alphabet cam. We're going to put a F303 in this thing. And I have a set of Ford GT40 aluminum. I think it's what they call them, the turbo swirl heads. I'll show you those here shortly. They got a they're fully ported. They're prepped, ready to go. 24-pound injectors, roller rockers. She's gonna have quite a bit more steam here when I'm all done. So today's the day this comes out and we get this all busted down. Okay, I got the James Duff motor mounts. I got the nuts off of them. So as soon as I put the engine on the hoist, I'll take the weight off of it, pull the long bolts out of those. Bell housings all unbolted, starters out, wire harness. All I gotta do is unplug what they call the salt and pepper shakers. The injector harness will stay on the motor when I come out, and the rest of the harness will stay up against the firewall. Everything's unbolted, so I'm gonna go ahead and grab the cherry picker now, and we're gonna yank this out. And there we go. Got the motor out. Not the easiest job to do by yourself, but I got it done. So I got a mess to clean up under here. Dirt, bird crap, and grease. But anyway, motor's out. So I got the flex plate off, and I got to pull the balancer off next. And I'm taking those right over to the machine shop so they can take those and balance the stroker kit, the rotating assembly. That one comes unbalanced, and the reason for that is you can get them balanced or not, but this one I had to get unbalanced because we use the Explorer front dress, and it has that real short stubby harmonic balancer that is 50 ounce offset. All the stroker kits come with a 28 ounce balance. So they're gonna have to drill and take weight out of that harmonic balancer and take weight off my flex plate to match the rotating assembly. So that's why we gotta do that. So I'm gonna get these off and get this on a stand, and then drop this off at my engine builder. We're on the stand now, and I think I had a pretty good front seal leak on this. I just can't believe just how filthy this thing is for only being like less than 2 years old and about 5,000 or 6,000 miles. It's just filthy. Off-roading is definitely hard on equipment, but we're gonna get this all fixed up. No worries about that. All right, here's the mess, the aftermath. Motor's all tore down. Heads, crank, oil pan, pistons, intake cam, and the oil spill. And now we are off to the engine shop. Here's the lower all freshened up. Fresh coat of paint. And here in the trailer, slash paint booth, I got the upper intake. Got some fresh paint on that, some semi-gloss. I've already got the oil pan all cleaned up, repainted. Stuff like the distributor hold down, cleaned those up, or cleaned it up, painted it. Motor mounts, water pump pulley, and since I had a whole bunch of leftover paint from the painting the truck itself, I actually mixed up a jar of paint and changed the valve covers from everything was semi-gloss before, so I go ahead and shot them the Viper red to match the red on the truck. So we'll carry the red and black theme under the hood, just like the exterior of the truck. These things turned out phenomenal, like glass. Can't wait to see what that looks like on there. So probably got a few more days of cleaning parts and painting stuff here while I'm waiting for the rotating assembly to get balanced and get assembled. Man, these things turned out so good. Love it. It's gonna look sick on there. And here's a few of the replacement parts I got for the truck so far. Got all new Remflex header gaskets, collector gasket. I bought a Aeromotive Stealth 340 fuel pump that I'll be putting in the tank. Excuse me, putting in the tank. Got the new MSD cap and rotor. Cleaned up my intake plate. And I even threw some paint on the oil pan reinforcement rails just for the hell of it. And then a lot of this other crap here I still got to clean up. The inlet tube and the hoses and fan and all the other stuff is just covered in dirt and mud. Ugh, what a mess. I just want to do a quick little update for this video. I actually started this video. The opening was filmed on March 2nd. Today is March 18th. And to put a little timestamp on this as a moment in time, this is a post-coronavirus breakout. So over 2.5 weeks ago, I dropped off the rotating assembly to the machine shop to get it all balanced, and I've yet to get it back. I thought this was going to be a couple-day thing. I'd have it back, and by now I figured I'd be driving and tuning this thing, but it's not the case, unfortunately. Everything's held up at the machine shop, and it looks like I'm going to be off work for a while too. So I'm hoping I can get the parts back here and get back to going on this thing and get it finished up. But in the meantime, since the last little clip you just saw, it's been about 2 weeks since I filmed the last portion you just watched here. I want to show you what I've done so far anyway, just to keep the ball rolling here. So I do have the fuel system all buttoned back up again. I dropped the tank and I used that Aeromotive pump. It fit in the original sending unit pretty good. I had to do just a slight little modification to a little plastic part of the hanger, and that Stealth 340 went right in. So I have the tank all back in. I did find that the electrical connector for the fuel tank was actually bad. All the retaining clips were busted. And it must have had a pretty bad connection because all the connections were corroded pretty good and the plug was melting. So I'm wondering if that was part of my fuel system problem here I've had recently, where it sat in the driveway and one day it would start and one day it wouldn't. So I thought the fuel pump was going bad, but more than likely it was just that connector. So I had to go and pick up a new connector for it and redo the wiring for that. So that problem's all fixed. So basically, oh yeah, this. I also, finally, I had this ordered a while ago. 3.5 gallon Rotopack fuel tank, little jerry can. Had this ordered a while ago, it was on back order. It finally showed up the other day. So I have this all mounted up on here with the spare tire. I really like it, pretty cool. Unfortunately, I'm not sure with all this stuff going on right now with this virus, if our trip to Moab is actually going to happen now. We're only a couple months out now, so anyway, I got the advanced adapters headers. I got those back from my buddy. These are ceramic coated now. So those are all ready to reinstall and should look good for a while now. And got the intakes all cleaned up, painted. 24-pound injectors are in it. I went and had my Explorer alternator rebuilt. Actually, it did have a bad bearing in it. So I went and had that rebuilt, so I don't have any problems with that. Timing cover, water pump, got those all cleaned up, new gaskets, new seals, repainted. So we're all good there. Oil pan, clean the air filter. Like I said, all my parts are sitting here, so I'm basically ready to go. I just need my short block back from the machine shop. So right now I'm just kind of at their mercy. So I don't know, like I said, today is March 18th. So we'll see where the next video picks up and if I'm able to get this thing wrapped up or not. So cross your fingers. And voila, here we are. Big progress finally. Today is March 25th. So it's been what, about 3 weeks so far to get to this point. But finally got the short block back from my engine builder. Normally I would just, you know, have the machine work done and build the motor myself, but my initial plan didn't work how I planned. I didn't think it was going to take 3 weeks to get the rotating assembly balanced. Figured it'd be a couple-day job. Then I'd let my engine builder just build the short block while I was working the rest of the week. That way, when I got to my weekend off, I would have I'd be at this point right here. Then I could go ahead and throw everything together. Well, with everything that's been going on with this coronavirus crap, and the shop that did the balance screwed me around while I just sat around while they figured out what to do. Kind of screwed everything up. So anyway, I let my engine builder just go ahead and assemble this for me. I didn't want to go and take money out of his hand that he thought he was going to be getting. So it's all good. He's better at this than I am anyway, so I probably got a better product because of it. So but anyway, here we got the block checked out in perfect shape, standard bore. We've got Keith Black hyper-eutectic, flat top pistons, nice big valve reliefs, fresh hone on the cylinders. Deck surfaces are all cleaned up. They checked out perfectly straight, so there's no reason to touch those. Same with the line hone. We went ahead and we drilled and tapped all the oil galley plugs, so there's no more press-in plugs there. So we got good retention on those now. I have seen them pop out before on brand new motors. So we're all good here, ready to assemble. I'm going to clean this up, mask it all off, and get it painted. And then anybody else looking to do this, Ford Explorer, this was the big hold up here. The Ford Explorer harmonic balancer is 50 ounce balance. Stroker kit is 28 ounce rotating assembly. So the weight on this had to be reduced, and the shop for some reason was just having a hard time figuring out how to do that. I don't know why, but you can actually buy these balancers already pre-drilled with the weight out of them to 28 ounce, but for what I was paying to get it balanced, I didn't see the point in buying one already done when the whole assembly needed to be done anyway. So all he had to do was all of this, drill those out, take metal out of it. On the back side here, it's painted now, but all here he machined off all this extra metal across here, take weight out of it, and also right here, that straight line there, he chucked it up and took metal off that. So now we have a 28 ounce balanced Explorer balancer. The problem you find is if this was any other 302 application, I could have just went right and bought a 28 ounce balancer for this, but because the Explorers are unique in how they have the serpentine drive is integrated into the weight, and this is the shortest and stubbiest setup there is no other option. You can't go buy an aftermarket balancer that'll work for these Explorer setups, so this is what you got to do. Anyway, here, let me show you the bottom end on this. So we have a cast iron Eagle crank, and we have Eagle rods, ARP bolts. Like I said, and the pistons are hyper-eutectic. No, they're not the strongest piston to use, but in this application, I mean, it's just an off-road truck. I'm not throwing boost at it. I'm not throwing nitrous at it. This thing ain't gonna be spinning 6,500 RPM, running down the drag strip, nothing like that. This is gonna be perfectly fine for what this is gonna be used for. So, nice budget stroker kit. Everything's very nice. All file fit, total seal rings. Should work great for me. And for the price, I mean, under $1,000 for a stroker kit for this, that's great. So, like I said, I'm ready to start cleaning this up, get her painted, and probably let her sit overnight, and I'll get back out here tomorrow morning and start assembling everything. Very excited. All right, motor is all masked off. Gonna hit it with some self-etching primer and then some black. All right, there's coat number 1. Looking pretty good. This right here, in case you wonder, in case you care, this is my favorite engine paint right here. A couple coats of this stuff, and it is nice and durable. gloss black. Good stuff. So let this dry for a little bit, and I'm gonna hit it with a second coat. Here we go. All tape removed. Three coats of the black. Self-etching primer underneath. She is ready to assemble now. Let's get started. All right, I got the whole front of the motor done. I got the camshaft in, which is that Ford Motorsport F303. I forgot for a minute. Timing chain's on, everything's all buttoned up, water pump, timing cover, balancer. I also discovered when the machine shop balanced my balancer for whatever reason, they machined the whole outside diameter and removed all of the timing marks that are scribed in it. So I had to find true top dead center again and remark the balancer. So I had to do that. Anyway, get ready to flip it over, and we're going to do the bottom end now. Okay, got the oil pump pickup and the ARP drive shaft all installed. With the strokers, an area of concern is you got to kind of watch clearance between the swing of the crank and the oil pump right there. The block did have to get clearance, just a hair right there. As you can see on the bottom of the cylinder walls, those notches. Those are clearance of the rod bolts. So bottom end is all buttoned up. Gonna get some RTV out and get this oil pan gasket down, and then bolt the pan down. All right, oil pan is on. Looks pretty good with my fancy reinforcement rails there, doesn't it? All right, time to flip it. All right, we got one head set on here. Something to make note of if you kind of follow the same thing I'm doing here. So these heads, pretty much all the aftermarket heads, have 1/2-inch head bolt holes in them for the larger 351, where 302 specific heads only have 7/16. So you have to get these right here. These are a head bolt insert bushing, and these will go in the head, and they'll take up the space for the 1/2-inch hole and allow you to run the 7/16 bolts. And this is all ARP head bolts here. So, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and start the torque sequence and get that bolted down. All right, heads are all bolted down. Looking pretty good. Moving a lot faster than I thought today. All right, so now I'm gonna drop the lifters and the retaining bar and get all the valve train buttoned up here. Then I'll have to measure for push rods. Okay, here we are. It is the day after the last clip you just watched. And yes, the heads are back off. Learned a very important lesson here that, damn it, I should have known better. But just to be full disclosure here, found a major mistake here. So I had the heads bolted on the motor, and I started mocking up the valve train to start checking the push rod length. And I was having a very weird issue that I've never experienced before, where when I go to tighten down the rocker arms to put the preload on the lifter, the little plunger inside the lifters, normally as you would tighten down the rocker, you would see the little plunger push down a little bit, and that's how you preload it. Well, what was happening is, as I was tightening the rockers, the lifters would not preload, and the valves were actually opening. And no matter what I did, the valves would always open before I could get enough pressure on the little the spring inside the lifter to get that to start to collapse and preload it. So I figured something was going on here, so I had my engine builder come over here and check this out with me. And what we actually discovered is the problem was actually in my head, where so I bought these heads, refreshed, used. They'd never been used. They were ported They are fresh milled valve job, and they were said to have brand new valve springs on them. And they did in fact look to be brand new valve springs, but the problem was they only had 60 pounds of seat pressure at the installed height and only 180 pounds at the 500 lift what this cam has. We could physically put our palms on these and compress the valve. We could actually move it with our hands. So the actual spring pressure on these was weaker than what it took to actually preload the lifter. So ruined the head gaskets by having to take them back apart again, take the heads over to my engine builder, and luckily he had some brand new comp springs on the shelf. These have at this installed height, they were 125, 127 pounds of pressure on the seat, and they were like 350 open. So definitely more adequate for a hydraulic roller cam setup. So, yeah, small mistake here. I looked at these heads sitting on the bench here for months now, debating whether I should take them over to my engine builder and have them check them out and go through them, but I just, you know, everything was new, everything was fresh. I figured they were good to go, ready to bolt down. Well, that's what I get for assuming. So, you know, while they were sitting here and I had time to kill, I should have had these stupid things checked. So I cost myself $40 in head gaskets, and then luckily he was nice and only charged me $100 to swap the springs out. So that was very cool of him. So, step backwards. Now time to take a step forward and get these all bolted back down and get the valve train done. Frustrating. All right, there we go. Rocker arms, everything's on, installed. The stock length push rods work for this combination, which was good. Intake's all on. I blocked off the center EGR ports and the heads with the Felpro 1250 intake gasket. Comes with a little piece to put down there to block off the EGR port to the intake, so you're not pumping hot exhaust gases into that lower and the upper intake. So there it is. I'm gonna start putting on all the accessories now. All right, and voila. I think that's gonna be about all I'm gonna do with this until I get it dropped in the truck. But love the new look of the motor. Looks pretty sweet. So I think that's gonna end this video. Motor is done. Motor is ready to be dropped in. So I'll probably start up another video here after this one on getting it in the truck. So I'm pretty sure this one's pretty long by now. So there it is. 342 cubic inch stroker, SVO aluminum heads, Ford Motorsport F303 cam, Explorer GT40 style intake. That's a wrap.